How are you?
Very good. All good.
Good. Well, listen, thank you so much for being here. Say again?
No, all good.
Excellent.
It can't be any better, to be honest.
Good. Well, I'm glad to hear this. So, the man, the legend that is Mr. Brandon Block, I feel very honoured that you're sat in front of me today. And I'm so very grateful for you being here. You and I have spoken a little bit. And I'm so excited to share your story. Before I kind of start going into that, just to say a little bit more about kind of why we're doing what we're doing today. Obviously, it's World Mental Health Day. Personally, I think World Mental Health Day should be every day. But the point being that actually, I think that at the heart, the theme for this year is World Mental Health is mental health for all. And I think that at the heart of that, for me, if we all need to, as I've said many times, 2020 has kind of blown our minds. Or as one of our good friends has said, COVID has democratized mental health. We've all realized the impact of external events on how we're thinking, feeling and acting. And I think that, actually positive mental health should be a baseline for what we want for ourselves and for others. And actually, we have an opportunity to go beyond that and to think about, and by the way, getting to positive mental health in itself is a great place, but there is the opportunity also for more, I think. And I think a lot of that comes from the inspiration of understanding what others have been through, as well as hearing how they manage their minds on a day-to-day basis. So I wanted today and yesterday as well to share the stories from brilliant people that we know. So to destigmatize stuff that goes on, as well as share what stuff they do on a day-to-day basis. So without further ado, I would love to introduce the wonderful Mr. Brandon Block, who I'm sure needs no introduction, but just in case he does, highly respected DJ from the original house scene, which, may I say, I was very much part of that. And Brandon Block is a name that will be forever engraved across the beaches, bars, nightclubs, and, may I say, hearts of everyone across the world, as well as playing to thousands at the likes of Space Ibiza, to featuring on BBC Radio 1's Essential Mix, to reaching #3 in the chart in the BG remix. This Brandon is also featured on Celebrity Big Brother, which I remember well, Come Dine With Me, and The Weakest Link. Brandon now works as a motivational speaker, a radio presenter, and a goal mapping coach. And my God, I want to go into the journey of that. Hello, how are you?
Hi, Kate. How are you? Thank you for that wonderful intro. Well, it's really nice to hear that. Bear with me for 1 second. I've just got to check something because there's some stuff I wanted to mention today.
Well, look, you did. I must say that I was introduced through we were introduced through a mutual friend of ours, and when we started talking, I was like, wow, the stuff that you talk about is so powerful and so important. And I think that the richness with which you tell it, because of the story that you share beforehand, is huge. And I can't wait for you to share that with him. Can you tell us a little bit more about what went on?
So briefly, Ollie introduced us, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So I've just had a missed call from him. He's a very elusive man, my mate Ollie.
Wonderful man.
So where do you want to start? I mean, you said something earlier about positive mental health, or that's a sort of a, I don't know. It's a cliche type, in the world we live in, right? And especially now after what's been going on, I think balance is key as opposed to positivity, because the actual reality of life is that I'm not being down about it, and but the reality is it's really difficult to be positive in these times. I'm saying, look, I'm not saying you can't. You can make yourself positive. You can say I'm positive. But reality is, you may well be like that. Around us, things are happening. Our families, our loved ones, our friends. Everyone's impacted by this stuff's going on right now. So, I think that balance and being able to just manage yourself on a daily basis is all right for now. I think, what we often do is, we demand these real big, high expectations of us, even if it's about being positive, or I must be positive. I must face these times and be able to get through it, and be strong. And it still goes back to those old core beliefs of man up, and face the music, and don't all that sort of stuff. So
yeah, and I think you're right. I think it adds another pressure, right?
Things I've learned, right? Look, I'll go back to a bit of the backstory. How much do you want to hear about?
As much as you're happy to share.
All right, okay. So, all right, for those who don't know, and I'm not assuming that everyone does know, so I very fortunate to be one of the known as one of the pop star DJs. I think we were called. I can't even remember now. But I never actually felt that I was. I don't think any of us did, because I don't think any of us were gonna or believe that it would be or turn out the way it did. When I was sure,
the level, the scale that you reached was beyond most.
But I mean, it was a phenomenon that the music that we championed became. I mean, there was a lot of catalysts. There was a lot of things which became.
Supermodel DJs, babes.
Absolutely, it was a wonderful time. We were all the community was incredible. They stopped football, terrace fighting. There was everyone had culturally become together, religiously come together. There was no judgment, there was no comparisons. We all just went to party. We had this one mind that we would just share our dance music together, and that's what we did for many years. And then obviously, drugs are a big part of that as well. I don't think it was the core. Yeah. I think at the core there was, a real missing a human condition, which we got back for that period of time. But as with everything, the world comes along and throws things, and as humans, we take time to adapt to the new behaviours or whatever. But we're also quite stubborn. So, it's hard for us to let go of old behaviours. It's hard for us to let go of habits. It's hard for us to go, substances, if that's what it is. It's all doable, but, environment matters. The environment you put yourself in or you find yourself in will always negate or have a lot to do with what you behave like. But anyway, for me, so look, I was very fortunate to be in that cohort of friends, let's say. The world went crazy with dance music. We were clubbing all over the world. We was traveling everywhere. We were flown on business class. We were treated like pop stars, and I never felt like that, and I'm sure the others didn't either. I don't think it was something that just arrived. It wasn't something we intended or intentionally went for. I think we were just immersed in the music and the clubs, because it was just such a wonderful place to be.
Right, it was it's everything that you loved, and it took you. It was celebrated. I mean, it couldn't be better, right?
I mean, for that time, especially for our age, or I'm saying my age of late teens, sort of early 20s, it was a social awakening. Where lots of people have become separated again. But all these cycles happen. The thing about this is this has never stopped. It's just carried on and on. And now, 1988, we thought we had 30-year anniversary of 1988 3 years ago or 2 years ago, and now it's 2020. So
when did that happen?
32 years. That is a whole lifetime. That's a whole lifetime, or beginning of a lifetime, let's say. So we've sort of transcended all these decades of music, and dance music is still probably at the forefront of everything. All recording artists, bands, or even classical music artists. Everyone wants a dance mix done. Everyone wants a record to play in the nightclubs, because the nightclubs became so instrumental in our living.
And was it something that then was positive forever? What happened then? I mean, what happened? Did it become challenging for you? What happened next?
For me, I think what became apparent to me was my usage of recreational substances became incredibly bad. I realised that I'd gone too far. I knew that I was nowhere that I could stop without help, but I wasn't prepared to do that. or was I ready? I don't know. Either one of those is a big question. I know that I was on a sort of death wish, which I was trying. I tried really hard to do, to do, and fortunately, I never succeeded. I tried many times to take my life, not the traditional methods, but I took myself to places where risks were taken, and then with my use, I tried really hard to get more down my neck than was physically possible.
Wow.
It didn't happen. So the moment of my reality, or my awareness, let's say, or my moment of clarity was, and I remember it well. It was a moment of, and I've only had this experience twice in my life I can remember.
Yeah.
The time it happened in Goa, and I was with my mate Tony Annan from Leeds, who used to run a club called Up Your Ronson, who was my mucker at the time. And we went to, after one of the New Year's Eve gigs, we all went to India. There was me, myself, Tony, Adam, and a couple of others, but there was a load of people going to Goa at that time. I think it was 94. And we all went to Goa, and we all met on the beach at Baga and Candalim and Kalangut and and Jora, all these, and we walked up and down the beach with many friends, and we bumped into loads of people. It was great fun. But I always remember this one moment, and I can only reflect on it now because I know what happened to me then. But we were sitting on the beach, myself and Tony, one night, and I remember sitting there next to him, and we just talked and look at the stars, because there's amazing stars in India. And all of a sudden, it's like every anxiety you've ever had in your life leaves you, lifts you. And I just remember like a clunk in every part of my body just went. It was like everything left you. And Tony looked at me and went, "Did you just feel that?" I went, "I did." And he was both at the same time. We had this mad moment of just pure being conscious, just consciousness, being present, but not being stressed or worried or anxious or any of the normal emotions we live by. We just literally chilled out and stood there and went, "Oh my God." It was like being lifted into some altered state. I don't know. But anyway, that was that time, and that was 94. And then I had that moment of clarity in the hospital when I was sitting there waiting for whatever I was waiting for. I can't remember. I used to ask them for things on a daily basis. They was sending me out of the bloody hospital saying, you're a walking time bomb, get out. And I sat down in this chair, and I realised that it was like make or break. I couldn't carry on the way I was going. I didn't know how to stop. The drugs weren't working any longer. I mean, I was, even the self-medication weren't medicated. It was like my physical illnesses I had were killing me. I had many things.
The drugs.
Well, I got ill originally because of my immune system being compromised, and I took risks and got caught TB, which I got cured of many years ago, which I cured myself of. And I didn't have medication, but I had TB, I had hepatitis, all sorts. I was just fading away, because of my life. But, this moment came, and I just said to myself, I've had enough.
Yeah. How long ago was that?
When was that?
Yeah, how long ago was that?
1996.
96. Right. Okay. So, wow. God. So 24 years.
Yeah. October, approximately 1996. Great moment. And I was sitting here, and I said, I've had enough. And I said to myself, I've had enough. And I felt that clunk again of letting go of everything. And I think, when I think about it, what it was I let go of my fear and anxiety of living without cocaine. Because that's what had been holding me in. That's been what had been holding me in the behaviours. Because if I was rationally thinking, I'd have stopped a long time before, because I was ill. So it wasn't about irrational. It was about fear and anxiety of not living, which is what we live in. We humans, we're constantly programmed with fear and survival, because we're fed a stream of stuff which is not always good on a daily basis, and then you live in survival mode where fight or flight. A little bit. I mean, we're aware now, because we actually realise that a lot of that stuff won't happen, but because we're continually in fight or flight, sorry. We're constantly stressed, a little bit of stress. We're constantly releasing cortisol, which is our stressor, into our bodies.
So tell me something. So this is really interesting. So you had that moment of clarity. I get that. I really get that. And I really like how you put that about actually what I lost was the fear of not having it in my life. That makes a lot of sense, right? Actually, suddenly I know that I know I can live without it. But that isn't necessarily a consistent thought, right? And I suppose or maybe it was. I suppose my next question to you is, in that moment, you have that clarity. 26 years on, you're going to have had dips throughout all of that, right? From that moment of clarity. How do you keep reinforcing that? How do you come back to that strong moment? How do you come back to that single thought?
I said the decision, the intention, the emotion behind the decision when I made it. I'm only able to articulate it this way now because I've learned about this stuff. All I could put it down to is I'd had enough. Doesn't matter. You know, you say the dips and I know what you're getting at. You're talking about relapsing and addiction and going back to the old behaviors, but I'd had enough. There was no way. It was my mind was saying, I don't want any more of this ever. It doesn't matter what comes up for me, whatever life throws at me. I didn't know about all this stuff. I've learned all this stuff about, you know, the environment and, you know, what the triggers and all that stuff. But there was no way I was going back ever. And I had multiple moments of I could have been secret about it, and you know, when you're embraced in that sort of insidious, let's say addiction. I don't like the word addiction, but it describes describes the stuff that was going on, I suppose, for people to understand. But we're humans. We're all addicts. We're addicted to something or other in our lives, and it's just how damaging it is, I suppose. If it becomes obsessive, it's going to damage you because you're going to continue to think about it. So it's about us managing that. But for me, I'd had enough. There was nothing about this that would entice me any longer, because I'd explored every single argument. I'd had every justification, every minimum. There's a thing called, when you work in drug and alcohol field, right? There's a thing called thinking errors, which I use to discuss with clients. So thinking errors are inbuilt core beliefs or belief systems, let's say, not necessarily core beliefs, but belief systems we pick up. A few of them, I'll mention a few. So justification, minimization, catastrophization, entitlement, grandiosity. There's a load of these things that we pick up along our lives, and if we think that way, these cause emotional upset, right? For me, that was it, mate. I wasn't going back, and I went to fellowship meetings for a while. They didn't do what I needed, but I took some stuff, and but one thing that was suggested, I'm not saying it was there anywhere, but everyone said, oh, you need to stop DJing and leave your friends. And I said, no way, mate. Music's always been my passion. I'm not going to change. I'm not going to change what I've been doing all my life for something that's come into my life and needs to stop. It's not going to happen. So I had a few weeks off, and then I went back straight to Ibiza. I went straight back to DJing. I literally had 2 weeks off while I was in the clinic. I would come out, I had gigs booked in for like that month, and I went to my mate Brady, who sort of one of my best mates. He looked after me through that time, that first few. Actually, it turned out to be about 5 years, but he took me to every gig, basically stood by me, and not that I was concerned, but unfortunately, other people come up and go, oh, they don't realise what you've been going through and all that, and go, not intentionally, and it's easier for someone else to say no than for me to say no all the time, So
and I think this is really interesting, right? Because I think and I really get what you're saying about having that moment, right? Having that moment of that real clarity of, actually, I just don't want to go back there. I just, that actually then becomes the repellent thing of, I know I can't be anything but there, right? If I dip my toe back into it, I will be there, and that's enough to keep me out. But I do think that this is really interesting because, from the bits that I know about this area, one of the big things, as you said, is about moving away maybe from those people or those situations, and you've literally gone straight back into it. And so do you think then that having someone there to support you was crucial within that?
Oh, 1,000,000%. But but you see, man, how do I say this? Look,
you share with someone else as a piece of advice, I suppose my point is, in a similar situation.
For me, look, I made that decision, right? and I've stuck to it. And whatever I do else in my life, there are certain, you know, things that I do which, you know, people wouldn't agree with. I do it because I'm able to do it, right?
Yeah.
My decision back then was never to take drugs again. I'll never take drugs again, and I don't want to take drugs again. I took enough drugs, you know. So it wasn't that, and I you know, that whole thing about it's risky going back in these places. I think if your decision is powerful enough, you've got your. I'm not saying willpower. It's about rewiring. You know, and that moment of rewiring those neural pathways and saying there's no option here for it to go another way. I have to stop. I don't want to do this any longer. And when that's the case, and I suppose you love yourself a little bit better than you were, with all that together, it becomes easier. I'm not saying it was easy by any means. It was bloody difficult, and it was fucking like Vietnam in my head for many years. But I never went back. I never wanted to go back. It never held. And even if that ever arose, I would be so aware and so knowing that what the place I could end up with, it would just keep me away anyway. It would never happen again.
Yeah. And what about, I mean, is there anything there? I was talking to a brilliant gentleman called Paul Moore, who's an incredible coach, you know, and what we were talking about was the fact that actually about choosing to step into stuff, right? Choosing that actually, you know, life isn't just happening. We've got a choice to make in terms of how we want it to be, and then actually putting things in there that are going to help with that. So one of the things he talks a lot about is putting leverage in, you know, actually things that is going to that are going to make me more accountable to this stuff, you know. So if I'm not going to be accountable to myself, maybe it's to someone else, or maybe it's something, you know, because of my business or something like that. Has that been part of it, or for you?
The leverage is a word. It comes into life coaching, and I've qualified in something in life coaching and in goal mapping. I'm a smart recovery trainer. I've got sitting guilds in health and social care. I've got MBQs in drug stuff, and I've got I can do a motivational interviewing, CBT, REBT. Leverage. I think leverage is a business word. I think what it is passion and something that's more meaningful. You know, once it has a meaning and it has an emotional attachment to it, and it's important enough to you, then you'll change. What you have to do then is it's all very well saying, well, I'll give myself leverage and that's motivational, I'm powerful and all that stuff. But what you've got to do is you've got to remember the environment you're in. The emotional attachments to the environment. I don't want to sound negative. I'm not, because it's a great journey to be on. It's a great journey of discovery, which I call it. And you know, we think about this every day, and I manage my mental health every day. I know that I can wake up mornings, and if I don't quickly get a grip on what's going on, I can run away myself.
And I think that's a really, really good point. And that's something that Paul and I were talking quite a lot about, you know, actually waking up in the morning. So he talks a lot about he does a lot within like a planning. So he's got like a routine that he goes through and the plan that he makes and the intention. He talks about how intention is like the bouncer in our life, right? You put attention on your intentions, and actually then, you know, you choose how you're going to feel that day. Is that important for you each morning as well? Having a clarity of what you're doing?
See, the thing about that is, right, I'm not knocking anyone. I get all that. I've done all that stuff. I've been in that world, personal development, right? And I've been in it for a couple of years. When I went to Celebrity Big Brother, I come out and went to Tony Robbins, and I sort of immersed myself. And but then more on the back of that, I started my Happy Days project, which is a little Facebook page now, going to be a charity, which we just create nice space for people, and we run workshops when we can, when COVID's not around, obviously, and all that stuff. So, yes, I get all that about intention. But you see, the thing is, Ryan, this is what I've come to realise out of lockdown or in lockdown. And I hope this makes sense to people. And I'm not saying please don't stop dreaming. Dream. Set your intentions, want to achieve, set your goals, do all that stuff. Absolutely. The thing is, we have to have a set of tools which we're able to manage our mental health with before that. Because what happens, if you're fully focused, what I found is, for me, if you're fully focused on your goal set and your intentions and are all good about being successful or whatever it is, and this is where did that see that's a demand. Where would that come from? You're looking at other people to aspire to. You're not just going to say, I want to do this, because you've seen it somewhere, because your body sees it. It's like NLP. You see in pictures. So if you see a picture of someone with a Lamborghini who said, I could have done this in 30 days sitting at home on my computer, you go, oh, I want to do that. So you're already comparing yourself with someone else who's these certain things. I guarantee you when they get off that laptop, that backdrop disappears.
Yeah, I get it. I get it.
So what I do is I tend not to compare myself any longer, and the more you stay away from looking at, and I don't know if I'm not saying social media is bad, all because through COVID it's been fantastic for people to support each other. And the content's been different. Have you noticed the content's all about supporting people, helping people with mental health, helping people with getting to a hospital, getting people with illnesses supported, getting people with meals, it's all been a lovely bubble.
Yeah.
And as soon as we come out this other side and there's the nasty bits coming in again, you can see all the bad news coming back again. But so I try to avoid that mostly.
What happens on happy days then? Is it about putting positive stuff out there and about more stuff in positive lives?
Yeah, we just used to put positive affirmations out every day. I was doing some Facebook lives with some people we bumped into on our travels. We have a little project called Tent Talks. So it's not TED Talks, it's Tent Talks. So we go to festivals, we get a tent put up, we bring some of the speakers who come and are part of Happy Days. We do like massage and holistic therapies. And we generally have like a well-being area. And I would maybe talk for 20 minutes about something, or someone else to talk about a subject. So that's some of the projects we worked on. As I say, again, I wanted it to come from an ethically right place. So which is why we have charity status, so we can fundraise. As opposed to doing subscriptions and trying to sell programs. So and so it's basically, it's just because I think I quite like this, right? I like this, I personally see that our brains are a bit like a pie chart, right? The time and energy, and I choose where I'm putting that. And so what I think I'm hearing from you is that actually, if we're putting more positive stuff in there, then we're going to feel better, right? The Happy Days is so we sat in this office, right, which you can see here, my shed, and I got introduced to this wonderful woman called Michelle Allen, who is a part of, we're now, we own Happy Days, and Gaynor Murphy. We sat here and we just spoke about our experiences for about 2 days and just talking. We was crying, we was laughing, we was crying. It was like a whole emotional roller coaster about just life. And we came up with the idea that, in Smart Recovery, there's some really easy to learn tools about managing your mental health, right? Yeah. And traditionally, Smart Recovery is used in recovery from substances, but it just translates into life, normal life. It's not unique to anything particular. Some of the tools are just so easy to pick up and really easy to put into your life. Some of this, when you task yourself with. What I found is, right, if you think about this, Kate, if you're working, i.e. 9 to 5, if you're not going to get, and you have a family and you have kids and blah, 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 you're not going to have time to sit down and journal, plan your day, do a goal setting, smart goals, blah, blah, blah. That takes time, and meditate, right? Yeah. These suggestions are all by people who've got time in their hands, right? Yeah. Right? So they're not for...
When we talk about this shit, people are like, I haven't got fucking time.
Exactly. Yeah. They're not for people who live in, in probably the normal world, let's say. So we have to find stuff that's easy to do, quick to do, because although people want to have time, it's really difficult to have time. The world is getting faster and faster. It's not getting slower. Yeah. And, now we're coming out of, let's say, I don't know what we're coming out of now, but things are going to get, unfortunately, a lot heavier.
Yeah.
Especially around mental health, because that the world's not getting better in any way. The impact of this in pandemic is going to be catastrophic. One
thing you can do, is there one thing that what would be one of the easiest things that you would share, like one thing that people can do quickly?
So look, I know it's probably easy to say this, but I don't pick my phone up. I try not to pick my phone up first thing in the morning. I remember I used to do it a lot. Every day you'd be like, what? But what you do then is you just literally task yourself with trying to catch up with what you've seen then, and compare yourself. Say, I'm not good enough because I haven't done that. I'm not good enough because I don't look like that. I'm not good enough. I'm not. read those targets. So you're just compounding all the negative stuff that you feel about yourself anyway. I certainly, I'm not. I'm very grounded, and that's through by just doing little things on a daily basis. And if I'm mindful that I've got to remind myself I do that stuff, like so, for instance, in Smart Recovery, there's a tool called the 5 questions.
Yeah.
You can do this 2 times a week, 3 times a week. Slowly, you'll rewire your brain to asking these questions, and you automatically get that neural pathway working. So it's how am I feeling mentally? How am I feeling physically? How am I feeling spiritually? How am I feeling emotionally? Am I in touch with myself? Am I waking up feeling anxious? Along those lines, if you sit down for 5 minutes and answer those questions yourself, you've given yourself 10 minutes of grounding time, which means you're not going to go run straight into the day.
Do you know what I call that? That for me is being before doing, right? That is that moment of checking in with myself. If you think, and you touched on this beautifully, that whole point that we get up, we're so fucking busy, we've got kids, we've got, we're rushing to our jobs, we're rushing to do this, and I there has been absolutely 0 moments in any of that for me. And actually, if you can just take that 5 minutes of asking those questions, you've checked in. You've had that moment of check-in to then at least go forward, into the rest of the day. Do you have any particular things that are challenges on your mental health, and how do you handle those now?
I'd be like, what challenges my mental health? Look, my core beliefs challenge my mental health. Yeah. For those who don't know what core beliefs are a set of belief systems or something you believe about yourself, which has come from a very early age. Often, a lot of us have experienced it, and a lot of it boils down to not being good enough, because we are told by our parents, couldn't you do better? You can do better at school. You can do better at this. And maybe we could just do exactly what we're doing, which was our best at that time. Yeah. But the expectations of peers can be detrimental further down the line, because you often live with these expectations. I should be better.
Yeah.
It's what's wrong with being exactly who I am.
Yeah. And how do you calm that when that thinking's coming up? Have you got a great tool for managing? What's a question then, maybe, or something you say to yourself in those moments?
Well, look, I sometimes I'm in it. What? We're a bit of an echo there.
Yeah, it's all right, I think.
Sorry. So we're human beings. We're creatures of experience, right? So when we are experiencing something, we create an attachment to it. When we're not experiencing things, we want to change the way we feel fundamentally, because we want these experiences, right? This is so we will, if we can't find something physically, we'll find something mentally. So or something that impacts on our senses. So if it's not tasting chocolate or food, or listening to music, or smelling something nice, or something horrible, or blah blah blah, we'll have these emotional attachments, and we'll go, right, I need to change the way I feel. Our subconscious will go, right, let's experience something, and it will either go to a happy place, or a horrible place, or a negative place. Sometimes I'll sit with the negative thinking and I'll just let it flow and see what the outcome is. Sometimes it's not serving me and I'm not really in the mood for it, and I have to sit down for a minute and have a bit of mindfulness and just change the thinking. Look at the rationality of it, and I know that I'm thinking irrationally and it's not true, so I just say, right, okay, I get what's happening. But a lot of the stuff is true at the moment. That's just the unfortunate thing. Having said that, also another thing that I try to do, if I'm human, I allow myself to not always be rigid, because I go with the flow, let's say. So in the evening, what I'll do is I'll do my list before I go to bed.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. Get out of here.
Right? Do your list for the next day.
Yeah.
You have nothing to worry about. And then when you wake up in the morning, it's a new day. You can go, oh, this is what I'm doing today. You don't want to get up and think, what didn't I do yesterday? You just tick off what you did and be grateful for what you've achieved. And then you just carry on down my stuff over. And what I say is, if it wasn't important enough, it probably didn't get done.
On that note, I think we have covered off in a 40-minute session. I think we've covered off what you could do in days. Like, seriously, the things that I've taken from this, the power of decision, that came out really, really clear. And once you've got that, you know, then sticking with that. And actually, if the decision's strong enough, it's the thing that keeps powering you through, and it's working out what that thing is, and maybe understanding the consequences, maybe as well as the thing that you're going towards. That, you know, that came out a lot. I really like that thing, like, you know, when you were talking about happy days, about how we focus on the positives in life, you know, be that the stuff that we're grateful for or affirmations. I really liked the stuff around checking in the morning, you know, every morning, those 5 questions that you were talking about. How am I feeling emotionally, mentally, spiritually? How do I want to feel? What could I be doing differently? Really interesting about the core beliefs, you know, and the impact that, you know, that can have on our mental health. And actually, you know, because that's my mind getting in my way sometimes, right? And, you know, when that stuff happens, maybe I can look at an experience that's going to make me feel different, or to either kind of sit in those thoughts, right, and to actually just see where it goes. And then finally, you know, that the list in the evening, you know, what, and then going through it the following day and being grateful that you've got that stuff done. That for me is the building up of the new neural pathways, isn't it? You know, it's getting to that much more grateful place. I've loved this. I like the what you have shared there, the wisdom that you've shared. I'm incredibly grateful for, and I think it becomes all the richer because of the story that goes behind it. Your work is, you know, that I can see the impact that you're having on people now. It's incredible.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
It genuinely is. It genuinely, and to, you know, to have been through what you've been through, it's clear that now you're using that so well to help others. And I feel very, very blessed that you've been on this today with us. Thank you.
I mean, look, listen, I'm not saying it's an easy path to travel for everyone who chooses to, you know, work on themselves, or even to step into a different mode. And all I can say is, if you don't let the fear hold you back from changing, because, you know, that's all. It's fear and environment. You know, you can change that stuff, and you know.
And fear is, and you know, it's come up so much from so many people. Sebastian Foucan yesterday was saying about fear. Fear, you know, the point being is that the obstacles and challenges are going to constantly come up, right? And actually, the fear's not fucking real. Like, it's there, and we've got to overcome that in order to get where we want to go. You know,
we have to understand what it is, you see, because we often run away with our fear, and that buys into our core beliefs, the beliefs about ourselves, that we're not good enough and we're not going to achieve these goals because deep down we don't feel that we're worthy enough or whatever. And this is that stuff about inner child, and I get that, and it's really good and very, very powerful work to do. But you've got to understand that we're humans, and because we've developed so fast and so quickly as a species, the fears, and it goes back to our caveman days, the fears we had then were about 4 or 5, you know, but, you know, eating, getting killed by a saber-toothed tiger, warmth, reproducing our family.
Yeah.
So there are Maslow's hierarchy of needs, really. But if you think about all the things that we now, so because the world moves so fast, we're not able to take it all in quick enough and go, oh, is that going to hurt me? Is that going to hurt me? Is that going to hurt me? Because we don't know. Because all the stuff, the information we're fed is going so quickly. So we don't have time to, you know, like The Secret says you have 60,000 thoughts a day. We probably have about 100,000 thoughts a day now, because we're constantly scrolling.
I've had that this morning, I've got to be honest.
How do you have time to process? We're constantly in fear, going, is that going to hurt me? Is that going to hurt me? So
it's exhausting. It's fucking exhausting.
Switch off for that. It is exhausting, mentally draining. So I think
in those moments, I just get to that thing. I was like, what if I didn't feel like this? What if I did not feel like this? What could I feel instead? Whoa, like, I'm just like, that is liberating as fuck, isn't it? It's like, what if I just didn't, what if everything was actually all right? Oh, hold on a second. It might be. Like, that blows my mind. What if actually it's all right? Oh, that feels really different.
Think about this, right? If we were happy every minute of every day, we would have need of nothing, right? We'd have no need of anything.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't go shopping. You'd literally go back to the basics of what you need: a bit of food, some warmth, a companion, possibly, you know, your partner, your family, somewhere to live, or something warm over you. Even if you're somewhere warm at night, that's, you know, and that's if we were happy with that, and having those limited needs, then we wouldn't need anything else. You know, so we wouldn't be comparing ourselves and wouldn't say we need to. You know, it's like, remember your parents used to say, "Oh, don't forget that you've got to buy what the Joneses have." It's keeping up with the Joneses, isn't it?
It was constant, isn't it? And it's just, and this is where I come back to, you know, number one, look at what you can control and focus on that. And number two, start turning round how you view stuff, right? Start turning it around. Like, look at the stuff you can be grateful for. And I know that people are like, oh, gratitude is bullshit. It's not fucking bullshit, right? If I want to start thinking, all I've got a choice over is how I'm feeling, how I'm thinking, and how I'm feeling. And I'm going to choose to put that thought in it versus that thought. That's all I can do today, right? Absolutely. And I've got to get a lot better at that. If I want to feel more, no one's going to be consistently happy, and sometimes I'm going to go to a darker place. But you know what? In those moments, I know that I can. I've got that tool to bring me back, and that for me is one of the most powerful things. Oh, I love talking to you. I think you might be one of my new favourite people. Can we hang out a lot more?
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, and
I hope the message gets across. It's Mental Health Awareness, World Mental Health Day. Anyone is watching, if you feel at all out of sorts, just reach out. You know, just go to any of the stuff you see here at Kate's Place, or just don't be afraid to search. Use the internet for good, and find something that you can resonate with and get help with. And don't be so.
Do you know what? I'm really pleased you said that, because we're putting on some free mental health one-to-ones. So be that more psychotherapy focused or coaching. If people are experiencing any challenges, or anyone that they are worried about, then do get in contact with Push, because we have got some free sessions we're giving away at the moment. So you know, we've got to do this shit. And I would love it, Brandon, if we can I would like us to do a lot more work together in the future, if that's all right with you.
Of course, no mention. You just let me know when. And if someone would like a session with me, I'm happy to give them a chat on.
Oh my God, back off, everyone! That's mine.
I'm not sure if they will be. If someone does ask, and I've got time, because I'm working full time now. But if I've got time, I'll definitely I'll do an evening session with someone who fancy, you know, setting some goals.
You're so kind, thank you. And in all seriousness. Amazing. Get in contact with us and we'll organise that. Thank you so much for your time. You are a wonderful, truly wonderful human. Thank you.
It's a pleasure talking to you. God bless. Have a lovely day, everyone.
Take care. Bye.
Down.